I came in, one of the volunteers, they came up to me, and one of the first things they said to me was, "Will you be joining us for dinner?" And I said, "If my wife doesn't get mad." So he looked at me in a very complex way. What does that mean? And I said, "I'll let you know after." So I'm going to take this opportunity to let everybody know what that means. Is once there was a gentleman, he went to his imam, and he said that, "Imam, I'm having problems at home with my wife. She's upset at me all the time." And the imam, naturally consoling him, said, "Be kind to her, compliment her, do what a husband is supposed to do, maybe give her some gifts and whatnot." And so this gentleman decided to go home that night, and he said, "I'm going to do exactly what the imam said to me." So while he got home, his wife had put the dinner in front of him and set the table as usual. He ate, and he said, "I'm going to do what the imam told me to do." And he said, "What a wonderful dinner." He just complimented her as he never complimented her before. And she was upset, and this gentleman complexed and worried, "What did I do now? I did exactly what the imam told me." She said, "It's been 20 years I have been feeding you. You've never complimented me. The one day the dinner comes from the neighbors, you can start complimenting me." So hopefully when I go home and compliment this dinner, my wife does not get mad at me. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. After the salutations and Islamic greetings that Ali Hashmat has already mentioned, I again extend my greetings and my peace. May the mercy of God and blessings of God be upon everyone here that is attending today. In both, it is an honor and privilege to stand before you as a representative of the Islamic faith, tasked with expounding upon the profound subject of God, fact or fiction. This discourse, organized by the dedicated individuals of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Students Association, reflects a commemorable commitment to exploring matters of profound significance. Ladies and gentlemen, it cannot be denied that the belief in God is fast disappearing, especially in our Western societies, as mentioned by our earlier scholar here. In fact, many universities are seeing atheism coming as a rise. As a believer, this makes it all the more important to us to understand the arguments of the existence of God, so that a seeker of truth can begin their journey towards a communion with its creator. Thus, I present before you a few arguments from the Islamic creed in favor of the existence of God. However, before I begin, I think it is very important for each individual to think, ponder, and reflect, especially on this question, as we are doing tonight. Scientists investigate the existence of so many things only to increase their knowledge and understanding of the world we live in. Extraordinary efforts are made to investigate the existence of the smallest particles of the universe. Why not make similar efforts to investigate, at the very least, the existence of a being who is the creator and sustainer of everything? Ladies and gentlemen, my first argument regarding this subject around the existence of God, it should be accepted because it is a commonly held belief across the world and across varying time periods. Every nation believed in the existence of a supreme being. Even some prominent atheists have written that a thing which is accepted by the entire world cannot be completely wrong. It must have some reality to it. In this regard, the Holy Quran, the holy book of Islam, states the following: وَإِن مِّنْ أَمَّةٍ إِلَّا خَلَا فِيهَا نَذِيرٌ, which means that every nation received a warner or a messenger from God. In other words, every nation had its share of people who called it towards a creator. This widespread coming of these warners caused the belief in God to become widespread. And that is enough of a reason for us to hold this belief as well. How can it be possible that people are raised all over the world, they have no connection to each other, no way of communication with each other across different time periods, and yet they are all giving the same message and testimony to believe in the one God who is the creator of all? The second argument for the existence of God is found in the third verse of chapter 114 of the Holy Quran, where Allah the Almighty says, Allahu Samad. These words mean that Allah is the only being who is perfect. Samad is in the Arabic language is an attribute of Allah, which means that He is not dependent upon anyone else for His existence. And all other forms of existence are dependent upon Him for their survival. The proof of this argument can be found everywhere in the world. There is nothing in the world which is perfect and independent in itself. Everything requires something else for its existence, and it cannot sustain itself without that something else. This dependency demonstrates that the world cannot sustain itself, and it needs a completely independent being who can run it, which to us Muslims is God Himself. The next argument that I present before you is that of cause and effect. Once there was a philosopher who met an illiterate Bedouin. The philosopher asked him, "Do you believe in God?" The Bedouin said, "Yes, I do." He then asked, "What proof do you have for the existence of God?" The Bedouin replied, "Dung." The philosopher, perplexed, he said, "Dung?" The Bedouin stated, "Yes, dung. Dung is a proof for the existence of traveling camels, and tracks of footsteps is a proof of the presence of a traveler in a desert. Why then is the sky full of stars and the earth full of pathways not a proof of the existence of God, who is mighty and wise?" Ladies and gentlemen, this is a common argument that has been given for the existence of God since time immemorial. Even though many allegations have been made against it, this argument still holds strong. As the Holy Quran also states, and I quote, "Are you in doubt concerning Allah, maker of the heavens and the earth? The fact that the heavens and the earth exist is a proof of God. There had to be an original cause that created the effect. For Muslims, that original cause is God Himself." Now, my next argument is actually an extension of the previous one. I just explained how the existence of God is proven based on the existence of the universe. Now taking this further, we look at the design and organization of the world. Suppose that mankind came into being on its own. How do we then assume that the entire world was automatically built in accordance to the needs of humanity? Take the example of the human eye. In order for the eye to function properly, we find the presence of the sun 149,600,000 kilometers away. Without the sun, human beings would not have been able to use their eyes. How can such a perfect order and design result from choice? Such a vast, intricate system cannot come into existence without a supreme, all-powerful being who is the knower of the unseen. The probability of the existence of such a complex universe is so infinitely small that it would be considered virtually impossible without the existence of a designer. Those of us who are more scientifically minded and want some more probable statistics, I urge you to go home today and search up what is the probability of a functional protein existing by chance, just randomly coming into existence on its own. It's virtually impossible. The same argument is presented in the following verses of the Holy Quran, and I quote, Allah the Almighty, or God the Almighty states, "He it is who has created 7 heavens in harmony. No inconsistency canst thou see in the creation of the gracious God. Then look again. Do you see any flaw? Hey, look again, yet again. Your sight will only return unto thee confused and fatigued, but you will find no inconsistencies." Ladies and gentlemen, Now, my next argument for the existence of God is that of testimony. This is actually something that is used to pass judgment in almost all walks of life. Whether a person believes and whatever he accepts to be true is based on testimony, and very rarely on personal experiences. A large portion of different forms of knowledge, such as medicine, engineering, astronomy, and so on, they are all accepted based on testimony. Some people experience certain things, and others base their research on testimonies of such people. If a large group of truthful, pious people gave the testimony that they had seen a thing or found something to exist, then such a testimony should be accepted. So when great men like Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and the Holy Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings of God be upon him, and the Messiah, Mirza Ghulam Ahmed of Qadian, may the peace and blessings be upon all of them, when all bear witness that God exists, and we accept them to be truthful people, so we must accept their testimonies. Also, allow me to present today the profound testimony in this regards of the Messiah Mirza Ghulam Ahmed alayhi salam. He states, and I quote, "Our paradise lies in our God. Our highest delight is in our God. For we have seen him and have found every beauty in him. This wealth is worth pursuing, though one may have to lay down one's life to pursue it. This ruby is worth purchasing, though one may have to lose oneself to acquire it. O ye who are bereft, run to this fountain, and it will satisfy you. It is the fountain of life that will save you. What shall I do, and how shall I impress the hearts with this good news? And by beating what drum shall I make the announcement that this is our God, so that people might hear?" As Muslims, we believe that God has not given us 1 or 2 or 10 proofs of his existence. Instead, he has given us hundreds of arguments and proofs. In fact, every attribute of God is a proof of his existence. For the sake of time, I will only mention 2. The first attribute that I present before you is the attribute of Al-Mujib, that God is the one who accepts prayers. Nearly every believer in the world can bear witness to the fact that he or she prayed to God and he accepted his or her prayer. This acceptance of prayer and the comfort that it brings into the hearts is a unique experience for a believer. I am pretty sure that each and every one of us has tried to pray, can give numerous examples of how their prayers were accepted. The second attribute I have chosen to expound upon is Al-Aziz, that God is mighty. If we see the impact of this attribute of God, it will tell us that there is a God who is Al-Aziz, who is mighty. Regarding this attribute of God, the Holy Quran states the following, and I quote, "Allah has decreed, most surely I will prevail, and my messengers will prevail also. Verily God is powerful and mighty." On the one hand, we see that God is promising that he surely makes his messengers prevail. On the other hand, we notice that a messenger of his is almost always selected from amongst those who are weak and powerless. The messengers of God come from humble beginnings, but eventually they are victorious. God gives them success in their own very lives. When we look at the situation in which the Holy Prophet of Islam, peace and blessings of God be upon him, he rose up with his claim of being a messenger of God, and then eventually became the ruler of Arabia. We are obliged to conclude that he could not have done it without divine intervention or divine help. He did not have any power, influence, wealth, or knowledge, not even the ability to read and write. Then when he made his claim, it seems that the whole world turned against him. This is the history of all prophets. They are never welcomed with open arms. They are always persecuted against. Against all odds, they are victorious. For the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of God be upon him, the result of all this was that despite the persecution, despite having a bounty on his head, Despite the society boycotting him, he eventually entered back into Mecca, his homeland, many, many years later, with 10,000 men to his side, victorious. This proves that God is Aziz, the powerful and the mighty one. He supported his messenger and protected him, and eventually enabled him to succeed and give dominance over all his enemies. For the onlooker witnessing this happen, it turns into a very powerful argument for the existence of God. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Thank you for listening. God bless you.